Welcome to our fourth and final video of today in the era of colonization and exploration. In this video, we are going to discuss the rise of slavery in the colonies and the plantation system. And I know you might be thinking like Steve Carell, what? Let me explain. So, as we talked about a little bit in the last video, the plantation system. The plantation, just to break this down, is a really large farm, like an extremely large farm, as you can see in these pictures. Look at how much land is all around the farm, and it's all for growing crops. Here are a couple plantation owners' houses, which means the whole goal of a plantation was to make money. The whole goal of the plantation was to take a crop like tobacco or cotton that you could plant a lot of. And by planting a lot of it, you could also sell a lot. So the whole goal was to get rich. Whole goal. So if the whole goal of a plantation was to get rich, they did this by planting what we call cash crops. The crops that a plantation owner could easily plant and harvest and sell for lots of money became known as what we call today as cash crops. Cash crops were things such as rice, tobacco, and cotton. You could plant lots and lots of these in a field. So if you had a huge field of this crop, then you could plant tons of it, and you could harvest lots of it, and you could sell it for lots of money. But the problem was, get a cash crop, plant a lot of it, but then you have a lot to harvest. And if you have a lot to harvest, that means you need a lot of workers. So for a plantation owner, the easiest and cheapest way for that owner to get workers was through slavery. So how did plantation owners get their slaves? They got them from the slave trade. Now here's how it worked. Slaves mainly came from Africa. They were captured in their country and traded for goods from England. Then England's slave traders would load them onto a boat. And remember, the slave trader would pack as many people as possible onto the boat because more slaves meant more money. Then they would take the journey across the Atlantic Ocean from Africa to the West Indies or the colonies. This journey became known as the Middle Passage. You need to remember that, the Middle Passage. The Middle Passage was one part of a larger trading route called the transatlantic trade or the triangular trade. This trade route would be from the colonies or West Indies, then to England, England to Africa, and Africa to the West Indies or the colonies. This was the trade route, and this is how slavery grew in the United States and in the colonies, is because plantation owners would buy their slaves from the transatlantic slave trade. Now, you're probably thinking, how did people in America get on board with this? This is a terrible thing. Well, honestly, a lot of people believe that slavery in America would eventually die out. So they're like, yeah, it'll eventually stop. It's not that big of a deal. Yes, it's not right, but it'll just kind of die out once people start realizing it's a bad thing and we start, creating new things to harvest stuff. It'll die out. It's not a big deal. But this is what happened. People were definitely right. And slavery was decreasing. It was going down until 1794 when Eli Whitney invented the cotton gin. Now, this machine can clean cotton extremely fast. And really, before the cotton gin, cotton wasn't even a cash crop because it took so long for people to harvest it, and then the plantation owner slaves had to pick out each individual seed from the cotton, and it just took too long. It didn't make a plantation owner very much money. But with Eli Whitney's cotton gin, it made the process extremely quick, which means it could make every plantation owner extremely rich. And so every plantation owner wanted to plant cotton, which means they needed more slaves. So as you can see here on the graph, in 1860 on the very far right, look at the green is the national cotton production in bales. Look at how much that increased after the use of the cotton gin and plantation owners started planting more cotton. But with the rise of cotton production, we get the rise of slavery as well. Because of the rise of slavery, because of the cotton gin, because of the transatlantic slave trade, slavery becomes one of the greatest American struggles in our history. and will be the cause eventually of the bloodiest war in our history. This concludes our final video, video number 4, talking about slavery and the increase of slavery in the colonies. Please go ahead and quiz out. You are officially done with the era of colonization and exploration. I hope to remember a lot of this stuff. You are awesome, and we will talk to you tomorrow. Go quiz out.